Before I get into the specifics of certification, I want to help really define an emerging shift that we're seeing between two concepts that have often been interlinked, and that's the concept of what really defines an industry as opposed to what defines a profession. An industry, when we think about this in real technical terms, is often a real vertical pathway. It typically begins with, for example, at a human resource department, support roles at the non-exempt level, where your job is supporting other very functional and formal professionals within your industry. Again, if you're thinking of the concept of the HR industry, where you have the non-exempt support staff within an HR department, then you'll have your generalists, HR managers, and HR directors. And that's really what defines industry. And we see that very common in terms of technical professional skills such as project management, human resources, finance, marketing, and other segments of business. Now, when we think of a profession, I want you to think of a broader concept, a concept that's more of an umbrella. With regards to the HR industry, for example, the profession not only includes that very vertical, formal HR department that you see on the screen there, with, again, that department of support, as well as the very specific exempt level and senior roles within a functional department. But then you often see the related but somewhat separate components. So again, industry, we think of professionals who may be in training, where that's their sole focus, or recruitment, coaching, contract negotiations. Those are types of skill sets that often will fall under more of the HR professional, but really aren't always well aligned within that very vertical concept of an industry. And as the globalization of most organizations has occurred, we even see those sort of related roles really broadening beyond anything with respect to a functional industry. So that's where you'll see, for example, individuals who may be in finance and marketing, but they are involved in the interviewing, the hiring, and the selection of individuals who will work within their formal departments. So that's where we see a lot of these related professional experience, exempt level roles that may fall under what we would define as a profession, but really are still something very different in terms of day-to-day scope of work and core competencies than being a member of a specific profession. So again, when we think of project management, when we think of finance and auditors, we think of even workplace coaches, a lot of those will fall within their own very formal, again, auditing industry or the coaching industry, project management. Yet as professionals advance into those specific formal industries, they begin to take on a lot of skill sets and a lot of responsibilities that are reflective more of a broader profession, such as human resources. Now, this is important because as you think of the difference of industry versus a profession and the concept of very formal and vertical experience as opposed to related experience, it really starts to help, I believe, provide some clarity to some of the opportunities we see in certification. Certification, unlike a certificate, is really the independent testing and assessment of an individual's capabilities within a given industry or a profession. There are three common types of professional certifications available: industry, professional, and applied. A professional certification, again, often really tries to capture that data that is very broad with respect to a specific profession. For example, the SHRM CP or SCP certifications, where they are trying to encompass everything from recruitment, training, compensation, into your very more formal vertical HR professional skill sets. An industry certification, again, typically requires that you have more years of exempt level experience, and that is very specific. 80% of your job, really day in, day out, is aligned to a very specific industry. So when we think of project management, the PMP certification, or the PHR and SPHR, that would be probably best defined as an industry-based certification. The alternative is this concept of an applied certification. We see with the World at Work with compensation, IIA with auditors, the Strategic Learning Alliance who confers coaching and negotiations. These certifications really are horizontal in nature. In other words, it does not matter whether you're in an industry or defined profession. These are skill sets that are often utilized by professionals without any regard to what industry they work in, day out. In other words, these applied skills being horizontal really are advantageous for any professional as they're advancing through their career. So again, just to kind of give you that visual idea, that professional certification really is attempting to capture A to Z, all that is included within not just a specific industry, but some of the fringe and related components of an industry that defines the profession. Whereas when we think of those vertical, very specific industry certifications, such as project management or the human resource certification, again, you often have the exempt level requirements and between multiple years of experience to very long lengths of time within a given industry. And so those are really vertical based certifications, with the SLA certifications, IIA, and others being, again, really cross-functional skills without any regard to the specific organizational department a professional may work in. So when we think of the current situation with the world of certification, it's really being spearheaded by the Society of Human Resource Management. Part of my background and experience is in the use of predictive modeling research, and I'm applying that to this particular scenario. I want to try to help you understand why we're seeing some of the shifting, because I know it can be confusing, but in the end, it's all for very good reason. When we are thinking of the direction that the Society of Human Resource Management is moving, they are setting out a pathway that is going to provide recognition of the HR profession at an international basis. In other words, right now there are many countries that may have professional HR associations. SHRM is the most widely recognized internationally. Their current shift is to gain the legal authorization to really kind of provide strength and clarity to the HR profession and the related certifications that fall under that umbrella. And that's really important because as we look to the evolution in the future, you'll see that everything really does begin to line up nicely. And the movement really is about addressing some very core issues that are present in the market as it relates to certification. We're going to get into some of the specifics in that momentarily, but when we think about the evolving workplace, never before have we had 4 different generations in the workplace. While we have 4 generations in the workplace, by 2021, 70% of the professionals in the workplace will have been born after, or really have the cognitive development occurring after 9/11. So let's think about that. While many of our organizations are still very much tied to the industrial era movement from the 20th century, the next level of working professionals really are going to take the workforce by storm in the next few years, and many of them do not have a lot of functional years of experience, especially at that exempt level. Now, that definitely requires a change. It requires a change in how HR professionals look at and value formal education, applied learning, as well as work experience, and really ensuring that we avoid the brain and skill drain that is right here in front of us, while also creating and cultivating new ecosystems within organization where we can properly recognize, reward, and ensure that we have the right talent on the team at all times. And so that is a big reason for the shift that is occurring. And the reason that SHRM is spearheading this, knowing that HR is the one who really defines not just for the functional HR industry, but really for all industries, coaching, project management, sales, marketing, finance. All industry really looks to human resources when it comes down to the sort of best practices as it relates to human capital engagement. Certification over the years has become of extreme importance for working professionals. Overall, we know that any individual who applies for a job, whether it's for a new hire or a promotion, that they have overall a 10% chance of landing that promotion or job. We also know that 92% of jobs and promotions for the last 2 years have been going to professionals who hold certification. That is a study that has come out of the Society of Human Resource Management in 2010 and 12. I also worked on a committee. We revalidated that in 2011 and 2013. So those numbers hold up time and time again. The reason being is because certification, unlike education, it is based off that person's applied experience, their year's work, really helps answer the question, do they have that core knowledge without any years and years of going to schooling, first and foremost. And so that is why we've seen such a power in terms of the value of certification. We know that HR departments have definitely implemented compensation that rewards and recognizes with pay scale reporting on average a 30% earned income increase for professionals that hold between 1 and 2 certifications in a lifetime. We also know that there's quite a demand in the applied skill sets. We know that project management, HR, again, a lot of these formerly thought of as very vertical industry skills are now professional skills that are really being sought after without any rules in terms of somebody being in HR. In other words, finance departments are looking for people who are adept and understand the basic applications and general knowledge of the HR industry, because again, if they're there coaching and mentoring and hiring or onboarding new talent within the sales department or within the marketing or finance department, they want to make sure that those leaders have the skills to ensure that they can work and support the HR policies effectively. So when we think of this really shift in terms of the HR profession as really being global, we look at the expected demand between 100 to 400% in the areas and skill sets of human resources, coaching, mentoring, and project management. I think that really starts to help explain why we see this real shift in terms of this new era of professional certification. Now, I want to talk a little bit with you before we get into specific opportunities you have and choices you have to earn your own certifications. But why have these certifications been important? It's more than just being able to look at a list of potential candidates either within your organization or on LinkedIn and be able to see that they've got these funny names and letters behind their names, so they must be good at something, right? No, in reality, I've worked with a number of certification entities over the last several years and have conducted a number of research endeavors to really understand some of the core problems and why we see certification as being a desired solution. What we know is that overall about 40% of employees currently feel disengaged. And 60% of those employees directly, number one reason is because they feel their manager lacks the ability to engage them. Once we speak with those same managers, we've identified that overall individuals in a supervisorial capacity typically have 25% confidence in terms of how to best engage their workforce, and managers have only about 60%. In either case, that's well below an 80% performance basis that is used to measure if somebody is capable of earning a certification. So when we think of the reason certifications are important is we know that there's a dramatic increase in terms of the individual professional's confidence and their ability to apply themselves and work to engage the workforce, produce results as it relates to their professional or industry capabilities. And so in a number of studies, we've seen this time and time again, this histogram on the screen indicating those sort of prior levels of reported confidence intervals versus the success rates and confidence reported not just by individual managers and supervisors, but also by the peers that they engaged. And again, when we think of, in some cases, supervisorial confidence, an individual who maybe has been overseeing teams, maybe lacks higher education experience, but has been out there in the workforce for 10, 15 years, when they rise to the level of going through various certifications, they naturally enhance that confidence and that understanding and awareness of who they are as a supervisor and the capabilities and skill sets they have to deliver in terms of helping the organization meet their needs. Now, this is the key reason why the Society of Human Resource Management has been working to really evolve the concepts of the industry versus profession and take the steps necessary for providing a global accreditation process that will ensure various associations and related skill sets all fall under and adhere to the overarching expectations of what defines the best practices of the HR industry. And so it's a very exciting time, albeit confusing, but very exciting time to be in the HR industry. A lot of professionals, some of you probably on the call who've been at this for 15, 20 years, know exactly the level of professionalism and hard work that you've put in to help not only getting the HR department brought to the strategic table, but now we're seeing a full cycle where if anything relates to the engagement of human capital, top-level organizations and the strategic table are looking to the HR department to really define how best to engage the workforce. And so that's why we're seeing the shift, because not only is it international and global, but we think of that same concept of really holistic or global presence within the organization. And so because of that, it does create this evolution. It creates confusion, but ultimately it is for very good reasons and a very exciting time to be involved with the human resource industry, and definitely take that time and opportunity really to demonstrate your professionalism through effective application of knowledge. And we know this peak theory has worked and is alive and well, especially as it relates to a number of certification programs out there. And I invite you to learn more about certifications and opportunities at SeattleResearchPartners.com.